Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the TR6 centre console side panels. We refer to them as centre console speaker panels because the majority of them, or a decent amount of them rather, had holes in them for the factory radio and speaker element of things. But just to clarify, they are these panels that sit on the left and right side of the H-frame. We look at an earlier car, sorry that's not the best picture but it's the only one that they've got, but the earlier car that didn't have them in, you can see the area that it would sit in there basically, so that's what we're talking about there. And they're effectively panels that were introduced on the TR6s that kind of hid a lot of the clutter and wiring underneath the dash, and then they made an allowance obviously for speakers in them. Now there are three different versions as I've laid out here. And originally they were always in black because all of the front end of that car on the TR6s was always black. However, we can obviously make an allowance to make them in other colours and also in other materials, but originally they were black and they were sort of the vinyl PVC material as per these ones that we've got here. These ones here we've done in bright red grained leather to match the rest of the customer's trim. These ones here have been done in British Racing Green vinyl. And generally the rule of thumb is that if you're changing any of the colours around the sort of H-frame area there, then you'll probably want to consider changing those colours as well. Then there's a break point with the lower crash pads, the switch plinth and the dash top, where you can choose to just keep the colours consistent and work it all the way through, or you can still have that break point. But most people, when they change the colour of the H-frame, they do change all of the dash area, and it does look really, really nice actually. This bright red one's going to be great. We're trimming up a load of the crash pads and switch plinths as well on that one. But sorry, I digress. Originally they were black vinyl, but we can offer different colours and material specs if you want. Now it's worth noting they were only fitted to the TR6s, however you can retrofit them to any of the TRs that had the H-frame, so the TR4A or the TR4 IRS, the TR5 and the TR250s. You can get these to fit, you just have to do a bit of editing during the fitment process. We have got a guide of how to do that. My father has a TR5 and he has these panels fitted in his car. So just bear that in mind. It's a nice little upgrade that you can decide to do if you wanted. Now, like I said, there are three different versions. You've got by far and away the most commonly seen two versions here, which are effectively the same shape, either without or with speaker holes in them. The speaker hole is a standard size. It's about 11 centimeters, give or take. The very, very early TR6s, we're sort of talking 1969, they used a different shaped one, which I don't believe ever had a speaker hole in it. However, we do make an allowance on the back for the speaker hole if you wanted to put that in. But these are extremely rare. It was only a few years ago that we were made aware of this by a returning customer of ours who happened to have a original set that were falling apart but decent enough to pattern up to, and so we borrowed them and now we've added them to our range here. But extremely rare, and it should be said that effectively they're all interchangeable. You fit them to any of the cars on the TR6 range and they would work. I believe from my research that I did at the time that this was very much an evolution, so this was their first go at it, shall we say, and they realised there are a few issues, I believe, with the airflow from the air coming out from underneath the dash, etc., and the fact that it was, if you look at that kind of shape there, you had this area all filled in here, and I believe basically they realised after a while that it wasn't working very well, and therefore they made a much skinnier panel, as you can see here, which then let the airflow out. Now, like I say, not a huge amount of information out there on these things, but I did do a bit of research on it and I believe that's the case. However, I'm more than happy to be educated and updated and schooled on these things. So if you happen to know any other information on this, I would love to see it. Thank you very much. We can always add it to our archive notes and potential future videos, so thank you. But yeah, early versions, odd shape, very rare. We've sold a handful of them in the years that we've had this pattern, whereas these were selling day in, day out by the bucket load effectively. So Just bear that in mind, but they are effectively interchangeable, and in theory you could retrofit these to the TR5s, TR250s and the TR4As, so just bear that in mind. The panels themselves, hardboard, cut on our in-house CNC machine. We pre-perforate and bridge over the speaker holes, so normally obviously people state whether they want the speaker holes or not, and we'll just trim it out accordingly. But for those that perhaps are undecided at this stage, we can just sell you the versions without the speaker holes, and it's not the biggest or hardest job in the world to trim that section out there if you consider yourself fairly adept with your hands. So just bear that in mind. Trimmed all the way around, they have foam padding on, which actually you have two different thicknesses of foam, as you can see. This area here has very thin foam, whereas this area here is a lot more padded, in tune with how they were originally supplied. They have this metal bracket on the I guess it's the back edge as you're sat in the car, the edge nearest you, near the console for attaching it, and it has also the pilot holes here, which are used for the fitment into the car there. So that's effectively how we sell them. We sell them in pairs. So that is a car set right there. Yeah, I think that's probably about it. So 3 different versions. And then after that, it's down to your choice on speaker hole, no speaker hole, material and colour. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you found it useful. Please do let me know if you happen to have any more information on these very early rare versions. I'd love to hear about it and update our records accordingly. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.